Hi guys, it's Inka 360 and I'm excited to have you here for my second episode. Let's go. What you would have noticed is the fact that I love music. Yes, currently I love all type of music I like. I love slow music, music R&B, soul music. I don't know. Maybe we'll have a conversation on that one day, but as it is, music gets me in the right mood for anything when I want to. When I want to read. So let's enjoy some music. Okay, so today's basically for us to get to know each other better. I think I've introduced myself, what I do, and what this session is about. We'll go deep into it, but just to start with, if you're into advertising or marketing, what kind of conversations would you like to talk about? Is it influencers? Is it marketing? Is it digital? Is it PR? What conversations would you like to have? And if it's gaming, what games are you excited about? Yeah, FIFA 22 EA just announced FIFA 22, although there are some glitches here and there. I am a huge fan of gaming right from childhood. We used to jump fence to go play game at some of our favorite sports. These are exciting times. But I still love games and I still play games till now. And outside that, what else would you like to talk about? Me, I love sports, I love music, I like intellectual conversations, I like talking about spiritual entities, essence of things, and that's why I'm a big fan of Marvel, for example, right? Because the way they've been able to capture ideas and bring it to life, it's just cool. So why one of the things I'm discussing today is why would you listen to me? What are the kind of conversations would you what kind of conversation would you like us to discuss? You know. So while we're on that, last week we discussed first entry and diminishing returns, and basically I just broke down some of the mistakes that some businesses or brands do when it comes to renewing some certain contracts, and why some contracts, looking at the brighter side of things for some people, in terms of whatever engagement they decide to do. So you can always check my previous link to, my playlist to check other entries that I've done. So for today, what would we be talking about? Okay, on this episode, we'll be talking about doing the basic. That's one. And secondly, less is more, right? Uh, you could say it's almost the same thing, but if you look at it in a marketing sense, when you put it in a structure, when you put it in a particular situation, it becomes different, most especially in communications when you're trying to explain things to people. Now, these are my own thoughts. I like to have engaging ideas or contradicting ideas, because this is how I feel like we can pass messages and better understanding for everyone. So while I go into the conversation, if you feel like anything is out of order, or you feel like you have a different opinion to the conversations, it's perfect, it's fine, you can drop it in the comment section. The point is, there's at the end of the day, there's no right, there's no wrong, when it comes to certain conversations, because what works now for a particular thing might not work for might not work in another situation, right? So the idea is knowing when best to use particular solutions or ideas, and that's why we're here. If I'm creating this scenario, yeah, other scenarios might not work with it, so your scenario might work for that scenario, but I'm interested in knowing your own ideas or the scenario you're thinking about things from, so it makes it interesting, right? When someone says to do the basic, what does that mean? And when people say less is more, what does that mean, right? To Let me just give a small definition, right? So when you say doing the basic, it's basically you working on essential foundations of things, right? So, for example, for a baby to take its first steps, you know, it probably stands up, right? And then moves the right leg, then moves the left leg. These are basics. For example, if you are a fan of Kung Fu, you'd understand when masters are teaching their interns, and they tell them, do the basic, understand the basic, and move, blah, 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 like that. That's examples of doing the basic. You want to eat, you need to get the food, you need to get the spoon or whatever, or if it's your hand or your chopsticks, and then you put it in the food, and then you open your mouth and put the food inside your mouth. So those are basics, right? And so in marketing, for example, when you say to do the basic, right, is basically you taking the foundational steps when you want to market any product. So basically, you know your strategy, you know your target audience, you know the channels you want to use: Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, Google, XYZ, influencers, right? So that's knowing the basic of what you want to do, what you want to sell, how you want to sell it, and who you want to sell it to. So those are basics, understanding that, right? But when you go further and you want to break it down, when it comes to certain marketing, right, and then your marketing is not bringing any excitement to people, then we are talking in another context, right? People are saying people are saying this is basic, this is just fun. It's so, in essence, it's not like you're not doing the right thing. It's just that what you're doing is what any layman would do. So what they are expecting, for example, is that you do something unique, something exciting, something different, to what others have been doing, in terms of how they understand what they want to sell, how they want to sell it, and who they want to sell it to, right? So that's a negative part of doing the basic. Now, when you hear people say less is more, in marketing, we know that there are different channels of making your product or service known, right? But sometimes, while we are trying to execute our strategies, sometimes people put in too much, so they clog it up. You know how when you're eating, it's a buffet. So because it's a buffet, you decide to eat everything that's been ordered. Obviously, you're going to get what do you call it? Too filled, right? That you probably not be able to move, and that's the discomfort. So less is more is basically saying you do less of a thing, but do it well enough that it resonates with people. Basically, that's what it means. So that means what you're doing is basic. You've understand the strategy, you know how to reach your target audience. Now, you've taken all the ideas, put it together, and you're now looking at the best way to offer this idea to the public without choking them with too much information, that they grab it in an instant, they are able to resonate, they are able to relate, and they're able to remarket. They would be the one to start marketing that idea to people because they can relate to whatever you're trying to say. Now, interestingly, the way that is, it doesn't necessarily have to be the relativity of the idea, doesn't have to sell to everybody, as long as it sells to your primary audience, right? As long as, for example, if you're selling to a mechanic and the mechanic understands that this product is for me, then you've achieved your goal. So you don't need the whole of the country. You don't even need your friends to approve of that idea. As long as you've understood, you've done the basic research, and you've been able to pull one or two together, right? And you have now been able to structure how best to deliver. Now, in most cases, yes. Now, Now, in some cases, yes, we've seen CEOs, brand managers, either because they feel they've had experiences in the past in terms of marketing, or either past or even present, they make their mistakes even for their, and they make life difficult for their for their workers, right? Because sometimes you might have an idea or the perception of how you want to let your product sell, but then it might not be the absolute right idea. It might be overflowed. So for example, I have worked with brand managers or product owners, that want to push out a product, and the things they just will do influencer marketing, will do push Mr. Macaroni, we're going to push Tauma, we're going to do Don Jazzy, we're going to, and then after that we're going to do billboard, we're going to do radio, we're going to, not necessarily, because at the end of the day, for example, the one of the brand managers that I worked for, I think it was charged around a quarter. I think about 1 million or so to do a video. The video didn't come out well. It was just done shabbily. In fact, it was so disgusting, because it did not even pass the right message. It did not pass any form of messaging at all. And then, it was like, and they refused to listen to ideas. There are simple ways of passing out messages, without you forcing yourself or using all the channels, right? You could pick just one channel, grow it to a particular extent, and then go from there, to reach more targets, even despite the fact that you have a huge budget doesn't necessarily mean you go all the way out to start bringing this and that. There was a strategy that I saw some time ago. It was like a restaurant. They sell pepper soup. Yes, they sell pepper soup, like it's grilled and packaged for you to go, and you just take a couple of hours. They sell it with parfait and some other stuffs like that, and a branded beverage too as well. So like when I got there, I think they used one of these influencers, MC Lively, as one of the influencers. They've done the video, and all they did was to have a big screen in their office space, their shop or outlets, where once you come in, you see the videos, you watch the videos, and the videos were quite interesting. Just MC Lively, but the video was really, really interesting. And for me, I think I saw that ad or video way back 2019 or 2020. I'm not sure. 2019, it must be 2019, and I can still remember. That's simple. That's something I would not easily forget. It's simple marketing. Now, when you've built your base, you can now go on to do other strategies, right? Because once you have that video, for example, you can put it on your page and promote at any time, right? Depending on the contract that you have. And this is doing less, and less is achieving more for you, right? So, in summary, doing the basic is always perfect, but doing the basic in your research, putting it together, and finding the best possible solutions, or the best possible way, the best possible strategy to push out to your audience, right? Without choking them with too many information here and there, XYZ. I think this would really help your product, in terms of retention, really stay in the mind of your audience. So for me, that's basically why that's why I'm having this conversation, because I see a lot of people make their mistakes. They want to do this, they want to do this, or they are waiting for budget to do that, or to do this, or to have that. You don't necessarily have to wait for that before you can get a lot of things done. So what do you think? Have you experienced this kind of situation before, where as an employee, where you felt a simple idea would have worked better, and the brand owners have always felt that, okay, they prefer to use this, they prefer to use that, and which at the end of the day, is always going to be a loss on the part of the business? Can you share with me, brand managers, if you are here and you can hear me, what are those mistakes that you've done that you feel like you've learned from going forward, in terms of your strategy and executions, or your ideas that didn't work, and you were initially warned against, have you ever experienced something like that? Please share and let us learn together, right? So if you feel any other thoughts as regards what I've just shared, please feel free to share in the comment section as well. Take care. Have a nice day. Bye. I'll see you next week for another episode. We'll be talking about something more interesting next episode, so watch out. See you guys.